Hello everyone, I'm Liam and welcome to another episode of the Indie Game Review, a series where I find new indie games on Steam, play them for a couple of hours and then give my opinion on it and whether I think you will enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and watch another video. I have a couple linked in the description of every episode, or you can click the top right corner to watch one now. And make sure to comment any indie game you would like me to review below. I'm currently feeling a little bit under the weather, so this is going to be the first ever episode of the Indie Game Review without my ugly mug on it. Well, apart from in the intro. In today's episode, the game we're going to be reviewing is Foundation. Foundation is a medieval-based city builder that is definitely the comfiest game we've reviewed so far. The most obvious comparisons to the game would probably be SimCity meets Anno 1880, but what sets Foundation apart from the rest is the freedom of the game, but we'll get into that later. Although Foundation was actually released via early access in February 2019, the official 1.0 release of the game was released on January 31st, 2025 by development team Polymorph Games. And although the game has technically been out for 6 years now, I didn't know of it until it popped up in the Steam new releases list, so this will be my first experience playing the game. But before we get into the gameplay, let's talk a bit about the game engine and settings. Foundation is created in Polymorph's own proprietary game engine known as Hurricane. In the press kit for Foundation, Polymorph states that the use of Hurricane allows for full mod support and is optimized for the thousands of moving parts that come with building humongous cities. The fact that Polymorph created this engine with just 2 developers is really impressive to me. I literally know nothing about engine development, so if this is an easy feat, please let me know in the comments, but so far, consider me blown away. In Foundation, the game's video settings are nice and customizable, but with 6 years under the game's belt, I'd be surprised if the settings were anything other than thorough. You can change common things such as the resolution and display mode, to the more in-depth graphics settings such as particle quality and grass distance. The audio settings are also nice and customizable, and of course, the key to my heart, the game has totally remappable keybinds. It seems that the game unfortunately does not have controller support, which is a little bit disappointing. There is a discussion on Steam regarding this where most people just say, who cares, it's a city builder, it's better on a keyboard, but the option would be nice. A couple of people in the discussion hit the nail on the head for me, with one person saying, where would a chill game be best played? Surely on the couch, right? And another saying, what about disabled people who can only play on controller? These are great points, and hopefully Polymorph are planning on adding controller support in the future, because if Baldur's Gate can be played on a controller, any game can. The game is rated as playable on the Steam Deck, and I would agree with that rating. It does play nice at a smooth 45 FPS on very low settings, but the controls definitely do not feel comfortable and natural to me whatsoever. It might just be a case of me needing to adapt to the control scheme, but I think some things could definitely be more intuitive. For example, when you have a box pop up on screen, you should be able to move through the available options with the thumbstick of the D-pad, and you should be able to exit off it by using A to pick an option or B to back out, whereas currently you have to use the trackpad to hover your cursor over whatever you want to press, then press right trigger to mimic a mouse click. So it's not awful, but I only lasted about 5 minutes of the recording before I decided I was really not enjoying the experience. Anyway, now that we spoke about the tech side of the game, let's talk about the gameplay. When you start a new game, there are a few things you need to go through before you can start building your settlement. First, you must decide how you want your map layout. Foundation has procedurally generated maps, which means no 2 game experiences will be the same, which I think is really cool. As well as that, you also have the ability to edit the layout as you see fit. Say you want an extremely hilly map with a ton of ocean, you can do that. You can do whatever you want with it. And once you've chosen your map, there are 5 different rule sets to choose from. You can choose casual for an easygoing experience, classic, which is recommended for your first playthrough, challenge if you're experienced in these kind of games and want to really play with a strategy, or creative to just chill and build your village up without worrying about the economic and relationship aspects of the game. Once the rules are set, you then have the choice between 4 aspirations. You can relax and play at your own pace, focus on taxation and labor, focus on monastery and trading, or focus on the military side of the game. As it's my first time playing, I decided to go for the classic rule set and the relax aspiration. After all, I'm just a chill guy and I want to sit back and relax while playing a game. Once you've decided your rule set and aspiration, you get to create a crest and a name for your village. I did try to get the Indie Game Review blue on my crest, but this is as close as I could get, and I did have to name the location after my love-hate relationship with Old Trafford. And once those are sorted, the game will begin, and after a couple of hints, you are kind of left to your own devices. The game does start off with some simple building and setup. You build a town centre, a builder's camp and a lumber camp, the 3 essentials to get you started on the right track. Then, once you've started cutting down trees, the options become almost endless. You can build camps to mine stones and ore. You can build wheat farms which work in tandem with windmills to create refined flour, which your citizens will then transport to a bakery to be made into freshly baked bread. You can create a town manor with a tax office to begin taxing your citizens. You can trade with other counties by creating a warehouse to store resources in, then creating a trade route. route. If you're struggling for coins, you can create a mandate to impose a levy on top of current tax to squeeze every penny out of your loyal subjects. The game is extremely in-depth and there are so many progression routes and ways to play that I didn't even scratch the surface in my 4 hours of playing time. Now there are tons and tons of features I could talk about in this game in terms of buildings, aspiration routes, etc. But if I did that, this video would be about an hour long. So instead of talking about what Foundation does similar to other city builders, I'm going to switch up and talk about what sets Foundation apart from other city builders. The main difference that's pointed out is the fact that Foundation doesn't follow the traditional grid style building layout that other city builders do. You have total freedom over where you want to place your buildings, what angle you want them at, and how close you want them to be to each other. It's extremely flexible in how you can play it, and I think that's really cool. And due to the non-grid layout of the game, you don't have to worry about things like roads and paths. You just place your buildings where you want and the people of your village create their own paths, and as they continue to walk the paths, the more defined they become. It's a really cool thing that makes the game feel so fluid and natural. It stops you having to spend 2 hours making the perfect road layout and gives that sense of natural growth within your community, even if the paths they create sometimes seem a little bit counterintuitive. Another really interesting feature in the game is zones. Let's say you want to create a residential area within your community. You wouldn't create a road and then create a bunch of houses. You would just paint a residential zone. A cool way to create an area when once painted, the citizens will just do their own thing and create their homes. I think this is really cool and actually quite realistic because I feel like people from this period wouldn't have neat block style roads where they live. It would be a bit of a mishmash of housing, which is how the community builds the area. The zone painting is also how you determine things such as wood cutting, hunting, crop fields, reforestation, and I'm sure even more. The thing I loved most about the game though is just how relaxing it is. It's one of them games you can play while you're doing other things and just letting time float by. I love the idea of like listening to one of my favorite podcasts and chilling and just letting my villagers do their own thing. It's just such a nice easy game to play, especially on creative mode. Because I'm not very well versed on city builders, I did find the economic side of the game a little bit overwhelming. I constantly found myself losing money and being skint, which is a little too like my real life to be called escapism. So from now on, I'm probably going to stick to creative and just enjoy watching my villagers live their day-to-day lives fishing, collecting wood, and eating berries. I'm sure there are so many people out there though that love the challenge aspect of the game and will make great use of it. So, overall thoughts. The game is £29.50 on Steam, but is currently 25% off, making it £22.12, but that ends on the 14th of February 2025, and although it's on the more pricey side, I do think it's still worth it. Foundation is probably one of the most chilled games I've ever played. It's perfect for them days where you just want to sit back and let time pass you by. My only criticism is that the game isn't perfectly optimized, with my setup only getting around 30 to 40 FPS on medium, albeit at 1440p. But honestly, the type of game this is, I didn't even notice I wasn't running at 60 until I spotted the counter in the top left. It's hardly a comp game, so the FPS isn't that big of a deal. 40 is perfectly playable and it caused me no bother. With all the things discussed taken into consideration, I'm going to give Foundation a 7 out of 10. In reality, a lot of that score is down to personal preference, and there will be people that score this game a lot higher because it is very well made. But I've never been huge into city builder games, so really enjoying these experiences doesn't come natural to me. But the fact I played for 4 hours straight without even realizing how much time had flown just shows how fun, relaxing, and easy this game is to enjoy. If you're into city builders, I would 100% recommend checking Foundation out. I haven't even scratched the surface of what the game has to offer, and to experienced city builders, I'm sure the opportunities are endless. So give it a go and let me know what you think of Foundation in the comments below. And please don't forget to like and subscribe to be notified for the next episode of the Indie Game Review. Hopefully for the next one, I'll be back in tip-top shape.